Welcome! Today we are going to go over how to download and use Chipper's primary feature, syllable segmentation. First, open a web browser and navigate to the Chipper repository at the Crianza Lab GitHub. This can be found at github.com/crianzalab/chipper. Here you can find both our source code and documentation. In documentation, there is a manual that will go over what we cover today in greater detail, both the installation and segmentation of Chipper, along with other features such as determining thresholds for song analysis. Back on the main repository, click the Release tab. From here, you can download the Chipper version 1.0 for your operating system, whether that is a Linux, Mac, or PC machine. I've gone ahead for the sake of time and downloaded the Windows version and unzipped the file. So I have this on my desktop here. Once unzipped, navigate inside to the folder Start Chipper. Here you can sort the files by type so that the applications are listed first. Then look for the application named Start Chipper. It should have a bird icon, which makes it easier to find. Double-click the file to start Chipper. Chipper will begin loading in the terminal and soon the main window will open. This can take some time the first time you open Chipper. If you have any trouble, close the terminal and try again. If you are on a Linux or Mac machine, unzipping and starting Chipper may look slightly different. Visit our manual for more detailed instructions for your system. We will go over the first step in using Chipper, syllable segmentation. Before entering this step, you can alter 3 default parameters to decrease the amount of adjustments needed. This is best to do after you have looked at a number of WAV files of the same species. Today, I'm going to go ahead and use the 3 defaults you see here. To begin segmentation, click Start. You will need to navigate to the folder with your WAV files that you want to segment today. For me, that is the folder Chipper Screencast 1. For this video, I'm only going to segment one WAV file, specifically the second bout from the Zeno Canto recording number 381923, contributed by Lucas. However, as long as you have the folder selected and not a single file, you can segment multiple WAV files at the same time. So we have the folder Chipper Screencast 1 selected, seen here, and now we will click OK. And the number of WAV files in the folder for segmentation will be listed. Click Begin Segmentation to load the first file. Chipper will create a spectrogram from your WAV file in the top window, here. In the bottom window, you will see the spectrogram in binary format. Chipper has also tried to segment the file using default parameters. This gives you the vertical green lines, which show the syllable beginnings, the shorter lines, and the syllable endings, the taller lines, or the onsets and offsets. If you have a very clean recording, this can often already be close to the correct segmentation. Today we have chosen a particular citizen science recording which would benefit from multiple parameter adjustments in order to demonstrate the features in Chipper. So Chipper's first automatic attempt at segmentation is not very good in this case. However, we can update the automatic segmentation by adjusting the parameters seen in this window. First, we notice there's a significant amount of noise in the low frequency range. So we can adjust the high pass filter here on the upper left-hand panel by either sliding the slider or by clicking where we want it to go. Then we see in the binary image, as well as in the spectrogram, that we have removed the signal at the bottom. However, in the binary image, we now see the signal in the high frequency range. This is because Chipper recalculated the total signal and the binary image is set to show only the current top 3% of signal. We can see that here in the upper right-hand corner. So you can reduce this unwanted high frequency signal as well by adjusting the low pass filter. You can adjust this by using the top of the slider. Before adjusting these to the final position, I would recommend reducing the top percent of signal that is retained because we are getting a lot of signal or noise in between the nice clean syllables we see in the upper panel spectrogram. If we bump this down, the top percent of signal, we can see this starts to decrease the signal and we start seeing the characteristic part of the song we really care about. I'm going to go ahead and leave this at probably about 0.8% of the top signal. What we notice is that Chipper is now segmenting much better. It has picked up most of the syllables we are interested in, but there are still some that are not being recognized, for instance, these in the middle. If there are syllables that seem to be very low amplitude, often at the beginning or ending of a bird song, for instance, here this might be the case, or the noise between syllables is significant in some areas, you can select Normalize Amplitude. While this often improves segmentation, for instance, these middle syllables are segmenting automatically, it can also enhance the noise in the portion of the recording without song. We can just crop out these unwanted segmentations using the bottom slider. Next, we see that a few syllables or portions of syllables are not being segmented still. This is because their duration is shorter than the minimum syllable duration. For instance, these two here, or the beginning of the syllable. Therefore, we have to decrease the minimum syllable duration parameter for Chipper to recognize the syllables. Now you have to start making more difficult decisions on what you are defining as a syllable. For instance, I'm going to say that these two pieces should be considered notes of one syllable. To make Chipper also recognize them as one syllable, the user would need to increase the minimum silence duration, like so. However, there are also places that I think noise is still being considered part of the syllable where it should not be. For instance, on the whistles here at the beginning. In Chipper, it is better or more accurate to have too many segmentation lines from automatic detection and have to delete a few than it is to have to add a lot of syllable beginnings or endings manually. Therefore, in this case, I would choose to decrease the minimum silence duration such that the lines are tight around the signal I consider to be true syllables. So now these lines are tightening up here, but it's also segmenting the beginning of the syllable again as its own. However, we can adjust that manually later. I can then adjust the minimum syllable duration again or go back and forth between the two parameters until I'm happy with the automatic segmentation. As a last step, I can use the manual feature to remove any unwanted segmentation lines or add any if needed. So, for instance, I can remove the two lines in between these two notes by selecting syllable beginning and delete, and clicking the syllable beginning. Once I've clicked an existing segmentation line, you can use your arrow keys to move between the syllable beginnings or syllable endings, depending on which you have selected. To accept the deletion, just hit Enter. Or to reject the change, hit X. Similarly, if you are adding a segmentation line, you can use the arrow keys to adjust the placement. So let's go ahead and delete other unwanted lines. So for instance, I could delete this syllable ending and add another syllable ending that I think is more accurate, that is closer to the end of the syllable. And I can use my arrow keys to adjust the placement left and right. When you are completely satisfied, click Submit. If you are not able to reach an accurate segmentation, you can select Toss and no information is saved. Chipper will then either load the next song for segmentation or let you know you have finished all segmentation. You will then be taken back to the home page. Once you have segmented a number of songs, you can use the next two tools to inform your threshold values needed for song analysis. These steps will not be covered in this video, but detailed information can be found in our manual. Instead, I will use the current song analysis defaults for the noise threshold and syllable similarity threshold for demonstration purposes today, and show you how to run the final analysis using the segmentation outputs. In the file chooser, if we refresh the folder, we can now see the output from segmentation. Here you have a SegSils output folder with a date time stamp. Inside this folder, you will have a gzip for every song you submitted a segmentation for. These will be used in the rest of the chipper pipeline. You will also have a text file with a list of the files you tossed, and the other 3 text files are only for your information and are not needed to proceed in chipper. They list the locations of the segmentation lines, parameters used to reach that segmentation, and the conversions from matrix elements to hertz and milliseconds. We can select the output folder, which we have selected here, SegmentSils Output, and click OK. It'll then show us how many gzips, or how many segmented WAV files we have to analyze. Clicking Run will show a screen with the progress of the analysis. When it is complete, we can go ahead and hit Return to Home. Now, if we look in the folder of our WAV file, we can see inside the output folder 2 new text files labeled Analysis Output, Notes, and SongSils. Inside of these are all of the measurements of the notes and syllables, such as frequencies and durations. For a complete list, you can see our manual. With that, we hope this video has made your first experience with Chipper a bit easier, and we look forward to hearing from our users. Don't forget, you can always check out our source code and manual on GitHub and contribute yourselves. Thank you.